COVID-19 complication, stroke during COVID-19 pandemic and at younger age. Coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 pandemic has affected the whole world and is still a major threat to humanity. Knowledge about the frequency of stroke, which is still a leading cause of morbidity and mortality, during this pandemic, its associations with COVID-19 and its clinical course in infected people are gradually increasing. This video is brought to you by Healthy RN Ways. Videos will be posted every Monday, Wednesday and Friday about the COVID-19 complication from other chronic illnesses. To see my other videos about COVID-19 pandemic, see end card at the end of this video. The causes of stroke in younger people tend to be different from the risk factors in people over 65, but developing healthy lifestyle habits while you're young can help reduce your risk of stroke at any age. The increase in rates of stroke in younger people may be due to a rise in obesity and diabetes. For most young people, the chance of having a stroke seems like an impossibility, but there is no such thing as being too young for a stroke. It's true that your stroke risk increases with age, but stroke in young people, even infants, children, and adolescents, does happen. In fact, between 10 and 15% of strokes occur in people ages 18 to 50. In general, most experts consider a young stroke age to be under 45. Even though the overall rate of stroke is decreasing, especially in people over age 65, it's actually increasing among young and middle-aged people. A county-by-county analysis, strokes among middle-aged people increased in 3 times as many U.S. counties as strokes in people over age 64. These statistics were also no longer confined to what epidemiologists call the stroke belt, a swath of the southeastern United States in which stroke rates are between 2 and 4 times the national average. How strokes in young people can be different. The type of strokes that are seen in younger people are typically different from what doctors see in older patients. There are certain heart-related problems that seem to be the causes of stroke in young people that seem to be less of a cause as we get older, adding that many young people are unaware they have an underlying condition that contributes to stroke until they have one. The factors that contribute to stroke in young people, which are typically different from what doctors see in older people who have a stroke, include the following. 1. Patent foramen ovale. Have small holes in the 2 atria of the heart, which are present at birth but typically not screened for, so most people don't know they have it. 2. Arterial dissection. Stroke in people under age 45 is caused by a dissecting blood vessel in the neck. This can occur for a number of reasons, including whiplash or sports-related trauma, although most dissections occur spontaneously without trauma. Blood vessels are made of 3 layers: a thin inner layer of cells, a muscular layer, and a fibrous layer. The thin surface layer can tear, and then the blood can get into that vessel wall. This causes narrowing in the blood vessel and can be the cause of stroke. Symptoms of an arterial dissection can include the following: headache, neck and face pain, especially pain around the eyes, double vision or a droopy eyelid, a sudden decrease in sense of taste. 3. Clotting disorders. Some conditions including sickle cell disease cause the blood to form clumps that can turn into clots and cause strokes in young people. Oftentimes a stroke may be the first indication that they had a clotting disorder. 4. Substance abuse. Specifically, doing cocaine constricts blood vessels while increasing the clumping of blood cells that causes clotting, which is how the drug contributes to stroke in young people. Refraining from drug use and heavy alcohol consumption will reduce your risk of having a stroke at any age. Factors young people can control to reduce stroke risk. Although having an underlying heart condition is out of your control, several studies have shown that many of the risk factors that make someone susceptible to stroke later in life, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and obesity, are becoming more common in younger people. Stroke is increasing in people under age 45. One big reason is probably obesity. Obesity in children and teens is up in America, and that increases the lifetime risk for stroke. Obesity increases the risk for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. These are all important stroke risk factors at any age. eating healthy, fresh, and unprocessed foods and not drinking sugary beverages are all associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease. The most important dietary modification to take into account is limiting salt intake. If you are predisposed to high blood pressure and you take in a lot of salt, you'll have a difficult time controlling high blood pressure, which is the leading cause of stroke. Fast food and prepared foods are notoriously high in sodium and are best to avoid. If you struggle with access to food other than fast food, you can modify your order, such as asking them to not add salt to your fries. Cutting back on smoking cigarettes, even if you choose not to quit smoking altogether, can also lower your risk of stroke in young adulthood. A study on stroke found a strong correlation between the number of cigarettes that men under 50 smoked and their ischemic stroke risk. The researchers concluded that although quitting smoking should be the goal, even cutting back can be an effective way to reduce stroke in men under age 50. The road to recovery. One of the big differences between stroke in older people and younger people is recovery. Stroke in young people can mean a lifetime of recovery and a loss of many productive years. A stroke study estimated that as many as 44% of people under age 65 who experience a stroke will not be able to return to work, most commonly due to having permanent trouble walking. The good news is that a 30-year-old has a better rate of recovery than an 80-year-old because of better brain plasticity, referring to the brain's ability to adjust and learn new skills. Many factors determine how well a person will recover from a stroke, including how the brain was affected, caregiver support, the quality of a person's health before they had a stroke, quality of rehabilitation assistance, and the patient's motivation. The AHA also points out that depression will sink in for as many as half of all stroke survivors within the first few months, so make sure to keep an eye on your mental health as much as your physical health. Every stroke center should screen patients for depression, both by asking them questions in person as well as asking them to fill out a questionnaire that can further screen for depression, who adds that having pre-existing depression is a huge risk factor in having depression after stroke. Depression can cause some significant impairment in recovery, not just the physical recovery but also how a stroke survivor perceives their recovery. It's really an expectation that all centers screen stroke patients for depression because it's so prevalent. The frequency of stroke in the pandemic era can be evaluated in two different perspectives: for the general population and in cases diagnosed with COVID-19. The frequency of stroke is reported between 2% and 5% among confirmed and hospitalized COVID-19 cases. In another study evaluating the patients in intensive care unit, the frequency of ischemic stroke was found to be 1%. Most of the reported cases are diagnosed with ischemic stroke. The studies mentioned have a retrospective design and a small sample size. Other concerns include the lack of detailed clinical and neuroradiological features and a higher rate of stroke in COVID-19 cases with moderate and severe clinical course. Initial observations indicate that the presence of ischemic or hemorrhagic stroke is associated with poor prognosis in COVID-19 infection. This might partially be explained by the higher prevalence of stroke risk factors in these patients such as hypertension and diabetes, which are also indicative of poor outcome in COVID-19 infection. On the contrary, most of the clinicians observed a decrease in the number of stroke admissions to the emergency departments. In a report from Italy, which experienced the most devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic among older generation, only 6 patients with acute stroke had admitted to the emergency department and only 1 patient with large vessel occlusion was recorded. They also reported that the average monthly number of 5 years for acute stroke was 51 and large vessel occlusion ratio was found to be 21% before the pandemic. The discrepancy between these numbers is striking. To reduce COVID-19 infection transmission rate, people were asked not to visit the emergency department unless it was truly necessary. Patients with minor stroke presentations might have been reluctant to go to the ED during the pandemic. These precautions may partly explain the reductions in stroke acute admission. However, the paucity of stroke admissions can't solely be explained by this socio-demographic reasoning, since patients with major strokes and severe clinical presentations would still have to admit to the emergency department. Recently, Observations about an increase in the number of young ischemic stroke cases presenting with severe ischemic stroke in New York City, the epicenter of the pandemic in the USA. While the number of patients admitted with stroke due to major vascular occlusion under the age of 50 was 0.73 in the 2 weeks before the pandemic, 5 patients applied to the emergency department during the period of March to April 2020. All of them also tested positive for COVID-19 and only 3 of them had a history of well-known risk factors for stroke such as hypertension, diabetes or hyperlipidemia. The patient admitted to the hospital on the 28th hour of symptoms reported that her delay in admission was caused by concerns about getting infected. Unfortunately, missing the opportunity of receiving acute stroke therapy. Among these patients, only 1 patient improved after thrombectomy, and this patient had to be transferred to the intensive care unit due to COVID-19 related multiple organ failure. These delayed admissions to stroke centers may affect acute stroke therapy adversely during the pandemic. There might be several explanations for underlying pathophysiological mechanisms leading to stroke in the course of COVID-19 infection. The uncontrolled cytokine storm in severe COVID-19 presentations leads to multi-organ failure. Pathological destructive mechanism operating through the endothelial system leads to the activation of the microthrombotic pathway and may result in stroke. Levels of serum markers of inflammation and thrombosis such as D-dimer, fibrinogen, CRP, tumor necrosis factor alpha, TNF-α, interleukin-2, IL-2, receptor and interleukin-6, IL-6, are increased in COVID-19 patients. It has been proposed that increased IL-6 levels are associated with increased infarction volume and poor outcome in patients with stroke. Viral inclusion particles were detected in endothelial cells in post-mortem examinations of infected patients. Direct endothelial damage and endothelial inflammation may cause ischemic event. In sepsis, excessive complement activation generates membrane attack complexes which lead to endotheliopathy. The 2 activation theory of the endothelium. Inflammatory pathway activation may trigger release of cytokines, IL-1, IL-6, TNF-alpha, etc., and lead to systemic inflammatory response syndrome, SIRS. The microthrombotic pathway activates platelets and triggers exocytosis of unusually large von Willebrand factors, ULVWF. The platelet ULVWF complexes form microthrombi in targeted tissues. As a result, endothelial injury associated with microthrombotic disease may lead to multiple organ failure and thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura, TTP, in this clinical setting. Cytokine storm and prothrombotic activation in the course of COVID-19 may cause widespread microthrombi formation resulting in increased D-dimer levels in patients. Furthermore, acute myocarditis and heart failure may be a risk factor for cardioembolic strokes in patients with COVID-19. Hypoxia-related acute respiratory distress may alter cerebral autoregulation and may cause intracerebral hemorrhage, cerebral vasodilation, and edema. Increased levels of D-dimer, ferritin, lactic acid dehydrogenase, and IL-6 together with lymphopenia can be indicators of cytokine storm in severe COVID-19 infection. Inflammasome-related inflammation, type 1 interferon response, and NF-κB also may contribute to hyperinflammatory response. Upon these findings, decreased fibrinogen and thrombocytopenia may lead to coagulopathy. Moreover, thrombocytopenia and anticoagulants used for preventing thrombosis increase the risk of intracerebral hemorrhage and may be deleterious for the already very sick patient. In conclusion, there are still too many unknown factors about stroke from the perspective of the COVID-19 pandemic. In this short period of time, we may infer that COVID-19 seems to have different clinical features in comparison to the features of other well-known viral pneumonia. Our knowledge in this era will increase with careful monitoring and recording of new cases. This will help to understand the underlying pathophysiological mechanisms and prompt clinicians to navigate new preventive and therapeutic approaches in the stroke management of COVID-19 pandemic in a timely fashion. If you want to know more other COVID-19 complication of chronic illness, please comment down below for more videos. like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. See you on my next video. Ma salama.